Hello, everybody. Welcome to the KISS podcast.
Keep it simple, sister.
Hello, Diana.
Hello, Sam. I'm no longer calling you Samantha because of the story that I heard.
That's going to flip everybody out. They're going to go, wait, where's the Antha?
Okay. Hello, Samantha.
No. It's fine. I'm good with
I
it.
might not be able to remember it. Sometimes I we'll see.
Okay, so you guys, Diana will have a split personality. It'll So I was telling her how I was called Sam from the day I was born. And then my grandmother's, I don't know what the deal was. Somehow she decided, okay, I'd be named after both of them, but they still called me Sam. So my family would call me Sam. And yet I was introduced to Susan. So it always confused people.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I always knew when people became comfortable around me, not to say that you're not comfortable, you're just taking the more formal, you're being respectful. But a lot of people in casual situations, I'd introduce myself as Samantha and they would immediately start calling me Sam.
Got it.
And so it was generally because of that.
Well, and I noticed that everyone calls you Sam. And I was like, maybe I should call her Sam. But I think I was introduced to you as Samantha and I just caught onto it. But I'm calling you Sam from now on. So it's fine. Hi, Sam.
Well, but it's like Diana, Samantha. Like maybe you're
That's true. It does have a flow.
So I'll just call you Di. Sam and Di.
I've gone as Lady Di since high school. So you can just call me Lady Di. Wedge calls me D. Has always called me D.
Oh, that kind of makes sense.
But I told you my mom wanted to call me Dee Dee, and I thought I would be a waitress at a truck stop if that had happened. But
yeah, and that does affect things. Let's just talk about, the energy of things.
Okay, well, let's get into why we do this podcast.
Oh, yeah. So we do the podcast. This podcast is all about feeling great by feeling better, which means that we're looking at all the incremental changes, all those little adjustments that a lot of them Diana and I did naturally throughout the years. Some of them were hard fought and won for, like just, recognizing how we feel, shifting our emotions, things like that. And so we wanted to share all of that with you in the easiest little nugget size that we possibly could to help you all be able to integrate these things into your life as well.
And we're hoping in the Facebook group that some of these little incremental changes are things that you've been practicing or trying and you've seen a little bit of a difference. So I know we talked about this in the last podcast that we recorded. I'm not real good about getting in the Facebook group and talking about things and interacting, but I would love for us all to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So any of you that have been with us from the beginning or jumped in, not just today, if you could share some things maybe that you caught from us and tried a little bit, that would be exciting and we'll have a discussion about it.
Exactly. Well, and just to clarify, so this is a podcast that some people might just be listening to. I need to get it out onto Apple, and Spotify and places like that. And I just haven't gotten around to it. Somebody needs to give me what, those round to-its people used to sell. They were called TUITs and they were round. So it'd be a round to it
going on. So you can't get around. I mean, you can't get around to it as quickly as you might want to, but that's funny.
But anyway, so, but just to let y'all know that, it's KISS, Keep It Simple, Sister. And the idea is that we're focused on women. So our group is for women. And if you're a guy listening to this, you enjoy listening to us, please make the most out of what we are sharing because it's for whomever. It works for everyone.
But our Facebook group is strictly women, so that we can have some safe discussions and we don't have to worry about, whatever.
Yeah.
But I also,
women of a certain age.
Yes. And it was important, whatever it was. But okay, so let's go to the flip side. This is how we like to start it.
Okay. So
and the flip side is something that was you could see as sometimes we perceive something as negative or contrasty or a problem or a challenge of some sort. And so we like to share at the beginning of the podcast are flip sides. So mine today was, we've been trying for, let's say, 2 hours to record this podcast, which is kind of like a theme for us when we come on and we're like, whatever. But my internet wasn't working. And I was so frustrated with it. And then I had my daughter who's living with me and she's my tech support. I had her helping me with it. And come to find out, I hadn't paid my bill. That's why after we tried everything, whatever, because I forgot. And I've been much better about remembering and focusing since I started using Morvida and, the things that we talked about in our wellness podcast before. But I'm the kind of person that jumps in to save the day. And a couple of things have happened where I had to help save the day, and my pile got high of things I had to take care of. And the Xfinity bill was one of those things. But we got it situated. And the flip side is, even though it was really challenging, it allowed me to have a conversation with my daughter about bills and credit cards and things of a financial nature.
Things not to do, like forget your utility bills.
So we had a big conversation because both of my daughters, and I don't know if other people in that age range, they're 24 and 28, both have everything directly coming out of their account. But they're not sure what day it happens. And sometimes money is there, sometimes it's not there, whatever. And I was trying to explain to them that what I do is online bill pay, but I pay, because I'm retired, I get one check. And so at the beginning of the month, I pay all the bills. And then, I have control over it. So if I don't have enough money for something, I put it off a couple days or whatever. So I was trying to explain that. And Annie did that because she was moving and, things have been changing or whatever. And then as we're trying to figure out this Xfinity thing, she realized she didn't pay her credit card bill.
Oh, wow.
But she didn't, because she was used to it just automatically coming out, and she hasn't set up her bill pay yet. So that was the flip side. It was good for her, but it was also good for me to realize that I'm trying to do everything for everybody, which
chronic helper.
Yes. And I need to help myself. I need to make sure that my Xfinity is up so that we can do our podcast.
Ta-da!
So that's my flip side. And everything's always working out for me. It took a while today to get it turned back on, but I had the money. I paid the stuff. It's all good. And now it's on my list of things to do to make sure that it's in my bill pay and I don't forget it. Because what I have, this is maybe too much information, but I have 2 different accounts, and my retirement goes into one account and Wedge's retirement goes into another account. And then I shuffle.
That's why she doesn't move her hands up or down.
It got lost in the shuffle. But I'm going to find it, and no more shuffling.
That's so funny because, like, my hands, I'm very expressive.
I know.
I'm always trying to explain things with my hands, especially when, it's because of my training doing readings and trying to help people visualize. So I use my hands a lot.
But also I notice you do it when you're connecting to source, to your
I'll do it.
I think that's a part of your deal.
But it was funny because I'm like, why aren't you moving? You never move your arms. And now I know why.
I'm sort of a klutzy person in general. I fall down sometimes and I knock things over quite a bit. And so, yes, I have learned to put my hands in my lap and cross them so that I don't do things like that.
That's funny. Okay. So I'm going to give my flip side.
Okay.
And I was just thinking, as I was gathering my thoughts together for this, if you could have put a GPS tracker on me this morning and seen the craziness of me going from room to room and all I was literally like leaving stuff behind and saying, well, I'll come back and get this and I'll come back and get that. And for whatever reason, I think it's because, I'm been pretty good about my supplement. No, I've not been as good about my supplementing because when I take my supplements, I feel whole and together. And I've had a little bit more fast food lately, which I don't do that very often,
Yeah.
but it's been out of convenience. And there's it's just like toxic to my system. I mean, for all of us, but like I can feel it and I feel disconnected in myself. So I've just had more of it than I usually do. So anyway, if you could have, it's it was fascinating to me that we couldn't get on to this when we were supposed to, because every time we were trying to, like, I was off on another weird tangent. So like I ended up going, well, she's not on yet, so I will go outside. Oh,
Well,
go.
and I did like 3 things before the Xfinity thing too. Like, we were supposed to start this at like 11 o'clock, and it is now
Yep.
3 o'clock.
Yep. So I ended up going, oh, I remember what it was. I decided I needed to go ground, get my thoughts together, right? So I go out to ground and then I thought, well, I'll check the mailbox. So I'm barefoot, it's kind of warmish here, 68 or something. And then I decide, oh, my poor plants, they're starting to wilt. So I need to water them. So then I decide to go water them. And then I noticed that some of them, because we have some Mexican heather, has grown up a little too much. So if they're only getting shade, they're not getting the sun. So they're kind of freezing. So then I was like, okay, I went inside and I grabbed the scissors and I started cutting that. And meanwhile, I had had some Morvida out of my, like the packet thing. And
Uh-huh.
so I'd had some of that. And when I was grounding, I had left it on top of my shrub that had been cut flat. So I'd left it on top of that and I had not gone out to water, then I would have forgotten it and it would have been left out there when somebody come up to had, if they came up to my house, they'd see trash on top of my shrub anyway. But this was like, it was a trail of just the weirdest, like laundry was part of it. Oh, so that was the whole thing. That was part of because I was so scattered and everything. I remember going into my bedroom, just going, what the hell? What is happening here? And I look at my laundry sitting next to me, which I know I have to hang up or it'll wrinkle. And I just started laughing and I'm like, and I have my Morvita in my hand. This was before I went outside. And I was just like, I've been needing to create reels. So Diana and I like to promote this stuff that we use because it is fabulous and we believe so much in it.
Yeah.
And but the only way you really get it out to people is if you give people an idea of what it's like during your day when you're using it and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Here is my moment. And I tell you what, when I put that reel um up on Facebook and wherever, Diana is going to die because I reference her in it. Um, but anyway, it all came about. All this frustration, all of this distractedness helped me create the perfect reel because I've been trying to think, well, how do I employ this
What do I
more?
want to do? What do I want to say? Yeah, I get it.
And this was just that moment that cracked me up. And I was like, okay,
Here's
because
what.
when I have the supplements in me, you know, I do so much better. And okay, well, that's the end of my flip side. But I
Okay.
will say this on top of it. I've been learning. Okay, so Diana has specialized working with ADHD people, so she's taught me a lot that I didn't realize how I was compensating, how I had adjusted in my life with my ADHD, and what was really fascinating, she's like, oh, you got to watch this thing. You got to watch this thing. It was this marketing thing. She's like, it's so fascinating. There's AI in there. And there's this guy who's all about mind, body, health and all this stuff. So I was watching about the mind, body, health today. And this is in between us trying to get on. And all of a sudden he got into ADHD. And the stuff he said was about the supplement connection.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was all part of this whole morning of me going, like I'm missing certain things nutrition wise in my body that I can't necessarily get through the different foods that are available to me, or I'd have to eat a lot of food in order to have it.
Yeah.
And so hearing him confirm that right in the middle of me going through all of this, I
Right.
was like, how freaking cool is that?
I
And
know.
yep. And when those kind of synchronicities happen, then I know it's a huge sign, from my guides going, here you go. This is what we're talking about. This is what you need. Be mindful.
Okay. And synchronicities is a woo-woo spiritual word that I've heard used much more since I met you than before I met you.
Mhm.
But basically they're like coincidences. They're like you think, this happened and this happened, and how did that happen together? And that's synchronicities. And so I'm glad that you use that word because that's our SAT word of the day, synchronicity.
Thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
in
And
the
if
in the
you
woo-woo world, when people say, "Oh, that's such a coincidence," we're like, "There are no coincidences."
right, things are happening for a reason. So I also want to, oh my gosh, I keep forget I have not had my Morvita today, and I know that I need to go. Oh, what I wanted to say was, if you don't follow each of our personal pages, go and follow our pages because we have information on this stuff on there in our reels. And
Mhm.
my stuff is very funny. Samantha's stuff is funny sometimes, but a lot of times it has cats involved, and it's really cute, and a lot. That's a lot of other things. But I was very excited to hear about the supplement connection for the ADHD because
Mhm.
it's my passion, like it's the thing that I know a lot about. And it's a thing that I feel like I can help other people with.
Mhm.
And the fact that moringa
Mhm.
helps without being a pharmaceutical medicine, because so many parents don't want to medicate their kids. And if I was one of them,
Yep.
and so many teachers, that's what they think of first because they don't know the strategies to do and the things that the kids need or whatever.
Mhm.
They'll have a conference with someone and a parent and say, you really need to talk to your doctor. I can't tell you to talk to them about medicine, but I know the medicine really might be helpful, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
I'm finding through all my research that the moringa, it does a lot for ADHD and kids on the spectrum in general,
Mhm.
autistic, ADHD, even anxietal, depression, all of that stuff
Yeah.
is related to your gut health, and it's related to how your body is processing things. And
Mhm.
so that's the main reason I'm so excited about these supplements that Samantha and I are taking and that we're telling people about.
Well, and so we were really good about, like, you've heard us kind of allude to it in the past, in our many past podcasts,
Mhm.
but we said, no, we're going full out and talking about these things through the month of December and into January, because we know when the new year comes, everyone sits there and says, oh, I've got to make my New Year's resolutions. I've got to be happy and healthy. And how am I going to do that? And we make all these unrealistic, we're starting on this day and all that. And the thing is, had you just done this last year, where you'd be feeling right now, because it takes time to correct all
Well,
of this
and they
kind of
say
stuff.
it takes 7 days to form a habit and 21 days for it to stick.
And then
So
but then life happens. So you'll
exactly.
have this throw you off and that throw you off. And it's, oh wait, I've got something that I have. So I have a board in front of me. You guys can't see, but I have this board in front of me. It has all these different things on, reminders, mindfulness kind of things, wishes and dreams and stuff. And one of the things I have, which relates to that, is first it is an intention, then a behavior, then a habit, then a practice, then a second nature, then it's simply who you are.
Right.
So,
Right.
we're
Your lifestyle, it is you.
yep, yep. So,
And all of that takes time. And
mhm,
so that's one of the reasons why we're trying to share this information in December, not January 1st. The other reason I think it's really important is this time of year is crazy nutso for women. I mean, like we take on all of these, the Christmas has to be perfect, and I need this gift, and I need these cookies, and I need to put up the decorations, and I need to do this and this and that. And especially if you have someone with ADHD and either you have it yourself or you have someone with that in your life, all of those changes in routine throw everybody off and
yep,
become really, really stressful.
yep. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's where, like, everyone knows about CBD
Yeah.
and how great CBD stuff is. And that's another thing that we've gotten into, but we don't really discuss here. But Diana has been experiencing it more with the stuff that she uses, that has been helping with all of that kind of stuff. And it's not to say, I mean, because we know we're going to put ourselves out, right? We know we're going to do all of this stuff, because we can't help ourselves. We want it to be a lovely experience this holiday season.
Want to be
And
helpful. That's the whole point of this podcast.
mhm,
This is free coaching, free teaching, free whatever,
mhm,
because we want people like us to know what we know and be able to practice it and hopefully help make
exactly.
their life a little bit better.
Yep. Okay, so let's jump into the positive path. That's our main topic for the podcast. And so sticking along these same themes, but not, we're going to shift a little bit, because we're going to talk about how emotions affect your physical health.
So we're still about wellness, but now we're
Mhm.
into it, emotional slash physical wellness, the
Yeah,
connection.
which, me bringing up the CBD was kind of a lead into that, because again, you you need to take it down a few notches. Like, we get
Yes.
so intense, so serious. And the thing is, you need to be able to do it naturally without any supplements or whatever. And that's what we're going to really get into talking about. But it's kind of like how they say, well, your anxiety is so intense, let's just stick you on some medicine for you to like at least be able to cope until you are practicing what you need to practice. But the thing is, doctors never teach you the mindfulness aspects. They just put you on the medicine,
Right.
but you
And
need
it's
the
supposed to work
mindfulness.
hand in hand, but here my hands are again. I'm putting them down. Um, you need that and that's the same thing with ADHD. Um, the medicine is helpful, but if you don't do that in terms of cognitive behavioral therapy and
PT, which is
just
dialectical behavior therapy. Mhm.
yes, all of it needs to work together. But the doctors are just like, here's a pill, this will fix it, and you need more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so let's get into some of the background behind it, which we all know that, like, if we get really upset and we start crying, and we have a really, really good cry, that after the cry, sometimes we feel better, but physically speaking, because crying can be a cleansing.
Yeah,
But when there's anger involved, frustration, a lot of
yeah,
times we feel so knotted up within ourselves, and you just feel tight. You'll feel like muscle strain. You'll feel um, aches. Maybe your stomach hurts. Maybe it's your
right.
sinuses.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so all of these are direct physical symptoms that are coming from our us allowing our emotions to take control, to overtake us. And yes, sometimes it's nice to indulge, but that's when it's really, we're talking about, this is like really overt, and we're very aware of it. But a lot of times we have the hidden emotions, the resentments, the depression, the whatever, where we sit there and go, we're fine. And everybody knows in the South, when a woman says, I'm fine, she's seething underneath. She's, really pissed, but she stuffs it down.
yeah,
I don't know what they say up north. They just go, I'm pissed off.
yeah. In the north, we let it out pretty much.
Yeah. But there's still that level that you're stuffing it down.
Yeah,
And so, based on the experiences that you've had, where that stressor is coming from, maybe it was your parents always telling you you're not good enough, or somebody in authority um, pressing in on you, limiting your scope of thought or action or what have you. And when I refer to this stuff, I'm going to show this book. This is Yvette Rose, Metaphysical Anatomy, and we'll definitely put the link in the in our related. I always have to look up and go, what is it? Blog? Yeah, in our related blog. But anyway, so we'll put the link in there. But she's what I love, that she's really investigated how different emotions coming from where, depending on where they come from, get lodged in specific parts of our body that are coordinating
Fascinating
receptacles.
too, because Samantha and I have my own copy too, but we've been using it and like, my elbow hurts. So we look up elbow and lo and behold, it's connected to an emotion that I'm feeling right then and there.
Just stuck. You're not, there's decisions you need to make and you're not making them.
Yeah.
So it tells you right off the bat what emotion you're ignoring that
Right.
is floating around you. And then it gets deeper into how there are patterns from your past that have created this situation. And that's, I'm just going to mention this real quick, that there's a class that I offer that I've got present right now called Shifting Your Reality. And it's a workshop, it's a masterclass where we actually dive into this stuff and we talk about law of attraction and we go through the patterns that create your reality. And we actually talk about this specifically, about how, like, a lot of people say, oh, my back hurts.
Yeah.
And, the back's related to feeling stuck. You're not being able to move in a situation. That all makes sense, right?
Well, and it's funny if you think about your aches and pains, do they center around a certain part of your body usually? So and you can kind of make that connection to that. It's really interesting. Very, very
Well,
interesting.
so when you think about it, like, if you've if you have something unresolved, maybe it's something that comes from relationship with your mother, right? And that's unresolved, like, it
Every
becomes a
all
pattern.
has something with a relationship with our mother. There's no
Yes.
doubt.
And then it becomes this pattern in your life where you keep attracting people to recreate that particular pattern because it's something that it's the known. There's a certain level of comfort. It's what you're programmed to believe or whatever. And so the pattern keeps recurring. If you don't stop and recognize it and heal it, what ends up happening is that you further exacerbate whatever the component in your body that is related to it. You further exacerbate it to the point that maybe it's that, like, your L5 starts to, your spine starts to deteriorate. And you say, well, that's just a physical condition. Everybody in my family has had that in the past. Well, it's because there's a certain behavioral trait that is passed on from one person to the next that doesn't get resolved. You've experienced it growing up. And now, that's the part of your body signaling to you, hello, and yes, sometimes, if it's a physical thing, like you fell off of a roof,
Right.
okay, that's
Broke your
different.
back.
Yeah. We're talking about these emotional things that come in. Like, I mean, the falling off the roof is more like, I was just thinking, kind of like your hairy tooth tumor. Like,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have known about that had something else not happened.
correct.
So there's a little bit of a different kind of thing going on
Did
there.
we talk about my hairy tooth tumor?
No, we haven't. So I,
Um,
I was like, maybe I shouldn't have brought that up.
No, it's fine. I'll tell the story real quick.
Mhm.
I had something called a teratoma, and it is endometrial cells. So it's hair and teeth and skin cells and just disgusting nastiness. And it was an undissolved twin. So I was a twin, and I had some of those cells in my body still. And when I was pregnant with both of my daughters, and I guess I was born with it, I grew up with it, whatever. It grew because of the estrogen that was in my body when I was pregnant. And so then it pushed on my heart. It was attached to my heart and my lung. And I'm going to use my hands again and be careful. It was about this big and it was attached to my heart and my lung. And I had to have open heart surgery to remove this teratoma, this hairy tooth tumor. But why did we talk about the hairy tooth tumor?
Well, because what happened, something alerted you.
Oh, I was having heart attack symptoms because it was pushing on my heart
Mhm.
and I was getting the pain down my arm and that kind of thing. And for 2 years, I was having chest pains and they kept saying, oh, your big chested women have costochondritis, they called it. And it's the muscle that goes across your chest. And when you're stressed out, it tenses up. So
Mhm.
they gave me muscle relaxants to try and help this. But until it got to the point where I really thought I was having a heart attack, we didn't find out what the real true
Mhm.
thing was that was causing it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It can get, sometimes this could get confusing because you're like, okay, well, this is emotionally based, but you have to look at where it's coming from. You know, in Diana's situation, there was a secondary thing occurring to let her know that wasn't brought on from past stuff. That was, just part of a whole thing that was occurring. Um, I'm gonna get woo woo real quick because
Go
this
ahead, because I want to know.
this is where it gets really.
Inquiring minds.
I try to explain to people. So when we come into our lifetimes, um, we we have a roadmap of how we want to get from point A to point B, because there's certain things we come to experience. Like, so we're testing ourselves. We're exploring different emotions, different experiences, that we thought would be brilliant and fun and exciting to experience on the other side. And then we get here and it really sucks and they're painful. It's like, because the only way that you can experience, like if everything was good all the time, well, you wouldn't have anything to
Wouldn't
judge it
learn and
against.
grow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you got to have the contrast. So I call them like life events as milestones. That was more of a milestone. Like you are going to come to that no matter what. It didn't have to do with all of these emotional things occurring. It was a milestone. So that's a totally different animal. So like some cancers can just be milestones. You're going to have it one way or another because it's something you've chose to experience so everybody else around you could experience,
Uh-huh.
even though it's painful and horrible and someone may die from it and all this. That's like a whole other concept. We're setting that concept aside. The concept we're talking about is how we allow our emotions to run rampant. And when your emotions are just a set of chemicals in your body, like, okay, let me back up. You have emotions so that they can let you know when something is pleasing or not pleasing, like
Okay.
whether you want to move towards it or away from it. When you are in a positive vibrational state, that means you are aligned to your higher self. That is when you are feeling it. You're in the groove, you're in the flow, you feel totally connected. You're not letting programming or anything get in your way. So a lot of us achieve that state when we're doing music or painting or,
It's where you
whatever.
feel pure joy.
Yes.
The way I look at it.
Yeah.
And all of you that are watching and listening, if you can think when I'm at my best, when I feel my best, what am I doing? That's the state that you're talking about.
Mhm. So when you are in a negative vibratory state, it's negative because you're disconnected from that true essence of who you on the other side truly are, which is, that love, that light, that positive essence. It's even more than love. Like that's the word we use for it.
Uh-huh.
There's not a word to really describe what that is,
Uh-huh.
but it is a very open, intimate state of being. So when somebody has told us our whole life, well, you don't get that right. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't, we begin to buy into that, which is a lie. It is not the truth. We're disconnected from the truth of who we are, which we are beautiful and perfect. And everything that we're doing is, as long as it's with integrity, is in that higher state of being. You're connected.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're in that disconnected state, that's when the things start going wonky.
Okay.
And your emotions, the way your emotions translate into your body is by chemistry.
Okay.
Okay. So it's, when you're feeling depressed, there is a chemical response that's occurring, that is, I don't know to say it. I don't know why I want to say it shreds your dopamine, but and I am not a doctor and don't take any of this to,
Has
like
to do
it's,
with dopamine or serotonin or both.
for some reason, what's coming out of my mouth is dopamine. It's shredding dopamine. I don't know what that means.
Shredding dopamine.
Yep. It's like shredding. I have no idea.
All
I don't
right.
know if
I'm
that's
going to research that and get back to you. Go ahead.
counterbalance. Yeah. So it's creating an imbalance in your chemistry. And that is going to it's going to lodge somewhere where there is a weakness in your body. Like I've understood that. Like I'll do energy scans of people
Uh-huh.
and I can see where the weakness is in their body. And that weakness was created because they're out of alignment with their higher self because of whatever that patterned experience is.
Right.
So where that weakness is where the chemicals or whatever, the stress will then go in and begin to exacerbate it. Does that make
Cause
sense?
pain and cause discomfort and
Hmm.
cause
Yep.
physical pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's you've got that chemical reaction going, but a lot of times we're tightening up, we're trying to defend, we're trying to make ourselves small. And so a lot of times when you're doing that, then you're releasing lactic acid, you get knots in your back, and if you've, where anyway, so there's this whole roadmap within your body. Like a lot of us have heard the concept of your meridian points,
Uh-huh.
and
Talk about acupuncture and
a little bit more mainstream now.
what's the not acupuncture, but what's the squeezing in different places?
Acupressure.
Acupressure and acupuncture and
Yeah.
what is it that you do on your feet? Sometimes they do
Oh, reflexology.
reflexology. All of that is
Mhm.
that meridian stuff you're talking about, right?
Yep. And so that's become more familiar with us. And so all of this is kind of related to that, but it doesn't just go to your meridian points, it goes to your organs. Like it goes, it'll start messing with, like, think about it. You're stressed, you feel like you're not good enough, you feel it in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah.
And you keep feeling that long enough in the pit of your stomach, you start having digestive issues.
Right.
And those digestive issues end up leading to, um, what is it called? IBS and things like that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, where it wears away your lining.
Um,
Why am I not thinking of the
I
word?
can't think of the word either because it came to me too. Ulcers.
Ulcer. Oh my God.
As
Okay.
you were talking, I was thinking ulcer. What's the word? Ulcer. Ulcer.
So it creates ulcers and so forth. And so there's all of this energetic stuff happening because of your emotions
Yes.
and how it's translating into your body, how you're trying to cope with the feeling of lack, or feeling small or unimportant or invisible or whatever it is. I find that all so fascinating because we just think, oh, I feel bad, oh, my stomach's hurting now, and then we just think, what did I eat?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And yet other people can eat certain things and they're fine. Well, they don't have the same emotional issues, they haven't created that weakness. But we know that most people have stomach issues, and that's that whole feeling of not being good enough. We know most people have back issues, like lower back issues, which is feeling stuck. And then that feeling of shoulder strain, that's feeling responsible for things.
Uh-huh. And what about like head and neck, like headache? Because I know a lot of people deal with headache.
That
You
one's not whole.
look it up and see that's what we do. Samantha and I have a conversation, and I'm like, I've had this headache for 2 days and I can't figure out why. She's gonna look for the head. I fell and broke my elbow and now my elbow is hurting. What's up with my elbow? And then whenever she looks it up, you're like, uh-huh, that totally makes sense.
And I always tell people, like, when I do readings, I take that thing that's deep down, like it might not have been why you came to see me, but
Uh-huh.
it's that thing that's deep down, and I bring it to the light and I bring about awareness. And once you have that awareness, sometimes just the aha moment, you can shift it. Other times,
Right.
depends on how chronic it has been, how many things that you've based off of that particular misperception or whatever. It
Yeah,
can
it
take
takes some
longer.
time to untie the web or the ball of yarn or whatever, depends on how big it is because of how much came in. Okay, I get you.
Which is why the spiritual life coaching is so important, because it takes time to unwind.
Right. Well, and
Time to unwind.
time to unwind. Okay, did you find it?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So for neck problems, anybody who I know when we started to say that, I was like, oh my God, there's people out there going, oh my gosh, so a
Mhm.
lot of us have neck problems. So I'm going to read that. You seem to feel rigid and need to control the outcome of everything you do. You feel that if you do not have the ability to control the environment, everything will go wrong. This will only make you feel obligated to fix everything again. This stems from a childhood where there was a great deal of pressure on you to understand concepts and situations that should not have been introduced until a later stage in your life.
Makes sense, right?
And there's more, but and there's more, but
But wait,
but
there's more.
sometimes, like there'll be several paragraphs and I can find that sometimes the first one applies to people. And then
Uh-huh.
as you begin to read on, it doesn't apply as much.
Got it. Yeah.
And here's the other interesting thing is, and she is creating another book that will apply more to younger people. And here's why. Because I was trying to do this with people. I love working with younger people, but like talking about like teenagers,
Uh-huh.
but teenagers haven't formed those lifelong habits. It's more
Right.
immediate. It's a shorter duration. So when I start to read these things to them, they're kind of going, yeah, I don't know. And I'm like, but wait, what I'm saying here, this is a call to attention here, because if you keep feeling the way you're feeling, this will result. This will be what happens. So I am telling you your forecast, basically.
Right. And so you're doing an intervention,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. I'm trying
And
to let
so
them.
if you have a book I'm hoping that what you're saying is her new book is going to be written more in their language, in their
Well, it's more for the
understandability. As,
present.
yes, instead of future
Yeah,
or so much past.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, it's super fascinating to get into this stuff and to realize that that emotional connection and how it affects your body. And the more you start paying attention, like I recommend everybody go out and get this book, pay attention to this stuff or find someone who can give you this information or whatever, because it's it's huge just to have the awareness.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you can go to talk therapy, you can work with someone like me, whatever it is, to then shift those their erroneous beliefs that have locked you into this.
And what's your master class called again?
It's shift your reality.
Shift Your Reality.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
that'll be linked in the blog.
oh, yeah, I can add
You
that.
can
So
go
was
to
it?
the Fire Within website, which is also in the blog, and you can hook yourself up with Samantha and me because I'm going to be doing it with her because I'm so fascinated by this stuff.
Well, and the thing is, I think part of our fascination with it is that it's come to mind. It's that's your higher self saying it's time for you to embrace this. It's time for you to know it. I feel like, generally speaking, um, we go through a lot of our trials when we're younger.
Yeah,
And if we don't learn from them, they continue into our older age. But
yeah,
as we're getting older, we're also being given signs like, here's how you unravel this, here's how you adjust this. Whereas I don't feel like if you're meant to unravel and sort through stuff at a younger age, that information will cross your path. That person will cross your path to help you unwind from it then. Because a lot of people say, God, I wish I'd known this when I was in my early 20s. I wouldn't have met this guy. I wouldn't have done this thing.
right. And our discussions about ADHD and you saying, "Oh, I wish I had known that,"
Yeah.
you wouldn't have come up with the accommodations, with the techniques that you have going had
Yes.
you known about that earlier. So
Well,
yes,
I
I
wouldn't have
wish I
gone
knew
through
about
the
it 20 years.
trials. Huh? Yeah.
Right.
And that was so important to who I am now. I'm so much my empathy for people,
Right.
so much is based off of the heartache. The way I raised my kids, was because people couldn't understand what I was feeling or going through. So,
Right.
there's a balance to all of this. And it's not for us to call what that balance is. That awareness comes in when we feel that nudge, that interest, that I want to dive deep into this.
Yeah.
That's when it's time for you to embrace a concept like such as this.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Very cool. Do we want to go ahead and get into uh the weekly wanderlust?
Yes. So the weekly Wanderlust is your homework, but people don't like homework. So it's your mission should you
Choose to
choose
accept
to
it.
accept it. It's your way of practicing some kind of what we've been talking about in a practical sense.
Mhm. I like to call it integrations because,
Oh,
yes, you are integrating it hopefully into your
into
life.
into your life in bits and pieces because this is a small something that can get bigger and bigger, but like we said at the beginning, it takes 7 days to make a habit.
Yep.
It takes 21 days for it to solidify. So we have to give ourselves some grace also when we're trying these things.
Mhm.
It might take more than one time to try it, or two times, or seven times, or whatever.
Well, so this weekly wanderlust, hopefully that wasn't too loud. I went, sorry guys.
I didn't hear it.
Oh,
You're
good.
good.
So this is, I will have an actual document for you guys to download and work through. And this is something that I use
It's
when
a
I'm working.
worksheet. It's your worksheet homework. Makes me so happy.
Some people really like to have that instead of just.
Yes, I do.
This is one of the exercises I do with my life coaching clients. So this is a really, really good thing to do. So I titled this Pain Relief, Shifting into Neutral and Beyond. And you've heard Diana and I talk so much about the importance of shifting into neutral. So you've got to have your emotions because they let you know I'm not I'm disconnected from my higher self, from my true essence.
Something's not quite right here.
Yeah, something is a lie, something is being misrepresented, whatever it is. So emotions are important. It's not that you're supposed to be walking around like a zombie or whatever,
Yeah.
which is why I don't like a lot of the anti-anxiety medications because people get too zombified.
Yeah.
All right. But what you do want to do is recognize what the emotion is and then do something with it. So shifting into neutral helps you release from the control of the emotion.
Uh-huh.
Excuse me. So there are 4 steps.
Okay.
The first step is wake up, which means recognize that you're in an emotional state, that something has grabbed your attention. And if you don't stop the train that's coming down the track, if you don't recognize it, it's going to roll over you. And then, like, what are you going to do? Like, then your emotions have gotten away from you. And that's when you say hurtful things and, behave in a way that is not so
So
pretty.
wake up is an awareness. Be aware.
Exactly.
Wake up.
And then step 2 is identify what and where. So the next step is to be aware of what you're feeling. So, if it's anger, if it's depression, usually for this exercise, a lot of times it's the knee jerk reactions, it's the trigger emotions that we're catching in this particular exercise. So when you feel yourself like all of a sudden getting hot and bothered, that's when something has triggered you, the emotions are coming out, and it becomes that runaway train. So identify. Step 2, identify, excuse me, what emotion you're having, and then say, okay, where is this happening in my body? So, like Diana, if you suddenly feel sad by something someone said, just stop and think, where does that usually occur in your body?
I feel like it happens right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm. And it,
I'm making a clenching. If you're just listening, I'm making a clenching and like hunching kind of look on my face and on my body.
yeah. And some people can feel it differently. They might feel it lower. And especially when you're feeling it in your chest, you
It's
know,
my heart. It's hurting my heart.
and you have a major chakra point there too, which we're not getting into chakras right now, but it affects that.
Uh-huh.
So some people will feel a strain along with they'll feel a strain in their throat. And
Yeah.
that's the throat chakra, where like you don't feel like you can speak, which is part
Mhm.
of that depression, is that you
Uh-huh.
can't express how you're feeling. So you're turning anger inside. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things going on there. Okay, so now you've located where it is in your body.
Uh-huh.
Now, step 3 is to disidentify. recognize this isn't happening in your head. This is a physical thing happening in your body at this point. So, you just think to yourself, my body is feeling tight. My body is feeling pain. My body is feeling this sadness in my chest area. So it's very specific now.
Yeah.
So that separates basically the soul aspect of you, the energetic aspect of you from what's occurring within the physical aspect of you. Then step 4 is allow and observe. So once you've separated, then you go, okay, this feeling is tightening up. This is uncomfortable, and you just allow it enough space and just, like, well, isn't this interesting? I'm feeling this way. What, where could this have come from? And as you're moving into this outside observant state, what's
Yeah.
happening is you're allowing your physicality to start to separate. Like, it stops the chemical flow. Like, the chemical flow will continue for a little bit, but it separates it enough that it allows for that whole mechanism that was ramping up, that was creating, maybe it was an adrenaline rush you were
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But you're literally a chemical soup when it comes to feeling the emotions in your body.
Uh-huh.
And so now it has allowed it to ease up, and it begins to die off as you're exploring it. So that's when you are now able to move into more of a neutral state. And from there, a lot of people just go, okay, I feel better now. Now I can talk rationally. But from a point of view of the world that I live in, which is, hey, that's an opportunity for me to understand what triggered me. What I say now is not part of your exercise. Just letting you know, should you want to take it a step further, you can start to go, okay, so that thing that triggered me, what must I believe is true that I would allow that to be a part of my experience?
Right.
And then you can start dismantling it so that you don't have the trigger. So you don't have this whole thing cascading, because
Yeah.
it started from a whole erroneous belief, a lie that separated you, that jarred you into this whole thing. It's
Yes.
fascinating.
It is fascinating. Are we at the last step? Because I'm going to give you an example
Yes,
of
that was,
something that happened to me, and then maybe you can walk me through how to
yep,
deal with that, or what the steps that were going on here.
that's it.
So, my husband, my dear husband, um, has he has an immune deficiency where he has to do an infusion once a week. And the infusion is of IVIG, which is other people's antibodies. His body does not make antibodies and fight infection and things like that. And so it's uncomfortable. It's not fun. It's not, he has to do it to himself, and he has to put little needles in his belly. And so, but so the other day, he was supposed, it was the day that he was supposed to do it. And because he's had a stroke, I remind him of these things frequently, or I put it on a board or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was doing something, assuming that he was handling the business of this,
Staying
and
alive.
staying alive, exactly. And I came out of my office and I said, "Hey, did you do your infusion?" "No, I'm going to do it tomorrow." I completely flipped out. But this is an ongoing thing with him. He'll roll his eyes, and it's not my problem. I'm just trying to save your life, man. I'm trying to remind you, do what you need to do to stay alive, please.
Mhm.
And thank you.
Yep.
But I flipped out and I started yelling and screaming, and that was my react when I was a teacher. I let stuff build up like that, and then I would let fly on the people at home. And I haven't done that since I retired. I haven't, because I try and use these
Techniques.
techniques and all the little things, all the little ways I've made to help me not get to that state. But I got to that state, and I was yelling and I was saying, "You have triggered me." And like I realized what was happening. Like, I'm yelling and screaming at you because that's the only thing that you will ever listen to. And that's what I said. You need me to scream at you
Yep.
for you to let this come in or whatever. But
Mm.
my awareness was that that's a trigger for me because I didn't feel heard
Mhm.
as a child or as an adult or as an anything. And
Okay.
that moves on and on. So I realized it and I said, I'm going to write this down. Did I do the what and where? What and where was just my whole body was ready to kill him and shank him with a knife.
So
I
when
was
you were in
so
the
angry.
when you were in the moment, you weren't going through any of these. You were like, "This is
No, I let
right now."
fly, but
Okay.
then I kind of stopped myself in the middle of it and thought, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Okay.
Why am I yelling and screaming like this? What is this? And
Yeah.
so then I realized that
Well,
that's
so
where it's
that's the
coming
wake up.
from. Okay.
Okay. And
And
then
then
where were you what were you feeling and where were you feeling it?
I
Step
was
2.
feeling angry and upset and disgusted and I mean, like I had a lot of emotion going on at that point,
Where were you
but I
feeling it?
was feeling it in my shoulders, in my neck, in my head. Like I clenched up. It was fight or flight for sure.
So think about it, what we just talked about. Shoulders are about having to take on responsibility, and
Yep,
neck has to do with always feeling like you have to take care of it ahead of time. Otherwise, it'll be yours to take care of again. Like, so
exactly.
you got to
All
do
this
it the
makes
first.
sense, right?
Yeah, completely.
Okay.
So,
And then, but I did not get to the disidentify or the allow and observe part of it. Well, and maybe I did. I separated myself from the situation and I went into my room and I took a shower and then I went to sleep.
well, which is good. Okay, so when you were going in to take a shower, that was allowing, water transmutes energy. So that
Yep.
bunched up energy you had in your body, you were transmuting that so that you were able to go and get some rest.
Right.
Um, Now, here's the tricky thing for other people, like in real time when this kind of stuff happens, is that if you walk away from the situation, people generally go on the attack. Once you have expressed frustration or whatever, if you turn around and walk away, that generally pisses people off,
Hmm.
which you're doing it for a healthy reason to disconnect from the situation.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've got to learn to use words and say, I need to process why I just did
Use
that.
your words.
Yeah, use your words. So, it helps to say, not you're pissing me off. It's, I need to process why I just did that. I need a few minutes and then I can talk. You're not putting it on the other person. At
Yeah.
that point, you're saying this is something, but realize they've probably, if you respond like that, they've probably gotten ramped up too.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so now you have one extra step of disengaging,
Uh-huh.
but unless you want to continue this ramping up, you have to assume whatever, like, I realize there's something going on with me. Now, it might be the other person and they're totally pissing you off,
Yeah.
but you have to disengage that energy in order for you to begin to sort through. Like, I can do it in the moment generally. I can just stop and just look at a person now and just be like, okay. And, so I'm not really thinking through the steps as much anymore,
Uh-huh. Because it's
because,
automatic for you. You're in that
yeah.
muscle
Well, but
memory part of it.
back in the day, like when I would let that frustration and everything build in me and I would go back to the bedroom, for me, I could literally feel the toxic level of the chemicals in my body. It was painful. It was so excruciating. And that's part of the wonder of getting to like this point where you're very hyper aware of everything because
Yeah.
you really feel that stuff. But
Yeah.
it also lets you know I don't want to ever be at that state again. So I don't generally let myself get there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So anyway, it helps to separate yourself as quickly as possible so that you can then go, okay.
Well, and then after I took the shower before I went to sleep, I came out and I said, that all came from a trigger for me, but I really need you to care about this as much as I care about this.
And that's the same conversation you wanted to have from the very get go.
Exactly.
But what happened is you went into fear mode, which is
Yeah.
false evidence appearing real. He's not taking care of himself. Therefore, he's going to end up having another bad thing happen and it's going to fall on me. So you were trying to prevent that whole chain of events happening,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's And as women, as the ones who take care of all this stuff, take care
Yeah.
of the family's emotions, take care of the messes, it's like, sure, we would love to get in on the water fight or the spaghetti noodle throwing fight. We would love to get in on that
You
stuff
know, we
and
have
be
to
fun
clean
and
that
silly.
mess up.
Yeah. And so we stop that whole fun process of the family collaborating and having a great time because the fear that we're going to be the ones yet again left to take care of everything and everyone's going to scatter to the winds.
Yeah.
So it's, first you have to realize it's not a big deal. So you take care of it, but you had that time with your family anyway. Um, but yeah, that allowing and observing,
But I think
that's
the
the
whole key
assessment.
is that the 3 and 4, the identifying, realizing that your body is in a state and you need to watch that. That's happening. That's chemically happening and be aware of it and know that's chemically happening. And then the allow and observe is what?
Well, that's step 4 was allow and observe.
Right.
That's where you're making sense of you've separated from your body and now you have a chance to go, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is why I'm feeling. That's when you're able to understand the trigger that you had a trigger point.
Got it.
So it's just separating so that your body can reduce that chemical flow. And my husband always said, you can't, says you can't have a rational conversation with an irrational person. And generally, if it's ramped up on both sides,
Yeah.
there's no rational conversation you can possibly have.
You're
You're
not wrong.
Yeah, yeah. You're not wrong. You have now allowed, sorry, I have to write that down. You're not wrong. You've
Well,
now,
and saying that stops it. I think we talked about that in another podcast. But and if you can remember and get your when you're at that allowing and observing part,
yep.
you can stop it there with you're not wrong. So that's a good uh, practice to get into.
Well, and it's good, you could sit there and say, well, you're not wrong, and I'm not wrong. And now what I used to always say is, um, just to get it to stop, which doesn't always work, is to say, let's choose right now, let's just choose to disagree. Like, I'm not agreeing with you, you're not agreeing with me. Let's just choose to accept that we're disagreeing. And there's a better way to say that, and I can't remember it at this moment. But that would be
Agree to
enough.
disagree. It is a way to do
It's
it,
an agreement.
but yeah, but the you're not wrong shuts it down so you don't even have to discuss it any further.
Exactly.
When you're agreeing to disagree, that kind of
That's
leaves
agreeing
it
to disagree with.
open
Yeah.
for another discussion. I'm done with you're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change your mind. Let's just
Mhm.
stop this now and move on to something more pleasant.
Yeah, because you've got to get to the point where when you're in that state of mind, nothing is going to get accomplished. And it's like once you finally, yeah, sometimes the steam needs to be let off. There's
Yeah.
that pressure point. But the sooner you can get to that neutral state of being, then a discussion can occur. Then rationality resumes. Then you can be led by that gut feeling. You can be more in touch with, what it is you really do want. You don't
Well,
love
and
it.
what I'm hearing you saying is that you can shorten that physical response,
Yes,
stop it in its tracks as
exactly. Because otherwise, how many of us have gone, I just need to walk out the door. I need to go spend the night at my mom's. I need, or my friends or whatever. Like,
yeah.
or, like it gets to that point where it's just so insane. And we feel out in the cold, who is this stranger? Like, I mean, oh my God, we get ourselves to such an irrational state of being,
Yeah.
and trying to bridge that gap is so hard. So the sooner you can recognize what's happening and stop the chemical inflow,
Yeah.
or influx, um, then the sooner you can get to that rational state of being and avoid all those things that you're going to say in the irrational state.
Well, and I think if these are if these kind of emotional responses and physical responses are happening a lot, working with someone like you to get to the bottom of what caused the trigger and allow yourself to release that
Mhm.
is a really good path to follow, I
And that
think.
saves relationships,
Oh
you
yeah, for
know?
sure.
Like it's just it's and I don't mean just like, husband, wife, like with your kids. A lot
Mhm.
of times I get women coming in who are just like, I don't know, we were having a good time and now my kids don't talk to me, or one child doesn't talk to me or whatever.
Right.
And it's a challenge to get them to be honest about what occurred, and it generally is a situation or a judgment, just sounding judgy and different things like that, it's something that the parent doesn't want the child doing because they don't want them to end up feeling like what they felt like or ending up where they are. And
Right.
that's fear, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it becomes the parent's problem to step in and take care of the woes, so they're trying to circumvent all of that, but that's part of the child's learning cycle. Like there's just it's so fascinating. All this stuff I just find like it's the stuff that makes us what we are and makes us want to explore this whole experience. Dive
Yeah.
into the darkness and find the light is essentially
Right.
what it's all about.
Right.
Yeah. So we don't
All
want you to
right.
be numb. We want you to feel it.
We want you to feel it and release it,
Mhm.
is what I'm hearing. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, feel it and release it and feel better.
And learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So we missed. Okay. Sorry.
we know we need to do Sweary affirmations, but I was just thinking, you know, I've gotten a nudge a couple of times now, and I'm thinking that this, I'd love to go on Facebook Live and do some readings and stuff, but I'm almost feeling like maybe I should just go on live and just talk about this and allow people to kind of throw some stuff up. I don't know if they'll do it in a public forum like that, but I can certainly offer that and see.
Okay. We can try it out.
Um, yeah, or not, or I can just hang out and just be like talking about whatever, and see if anybody wants to engage. Um, who knows? But it could be interesting.
But
Just
I'll be there and I'll be talking about whatever with you. So
yeah, yeah. So I won't be alone, right?
we'll figure it out. And if somebody
Yeah,
else wants to join in, let's go.
that could be really interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps doing that. Okay,
All
square
right.
affirmation.
Sweary affirmation. Now we have started over with the sweary affirmations because we got to the end of the pile. But what we realized was there are many people who haven't heard the other ones. And I'm sure there's one that's perfect for whatever we're working with today or will be
Yeah.
coming up. So,
Now there's another thing too that we realized. The other thing we realized is we said, well, let's look at these other affirmations. We're happy-go-lucky people. We've got books that or these cards or whatever that give us affirmations. And so Diana pulls out hers and starts reading them. And I have a problem with affirmations. There are very few that I can say out loud that I don't feel the lie. Like pull one of them out. Let's just go there for just a minute.
all right. I am filled with gratitude for every element of my life.
I am. I could kind of buy into that one, but
But I don't know. Like for me, it's every element, really. I am filled with gratitude for a lot of things.
if you,
I'm
yeah,
not sure that
right
it's
there.
every element of my life.
I know. So if you just did, and hey, that's kind of like the problem with Chat GPT
Yeah, I could just say, I am filled with gratitude
for every fucking thing.
for every fucking thing.
Now, see, I
Um,
could say for every fucking thing, but I couldn't say for everything because there's
exactly.
an element of just que sera, life goes on, lightness, levity, wiggle room. But when it's a statement and you're supposed to own that statement of that affirmation, a lot of people recognize the lie in it.
And believe it and whatever. So,
Mhm.
and on the back of it, it says, my actions create constant prosperity. Constant prosperity? Really?
No, like I
I'm
say,
fucking prosperous.
I can, yeah,
Still not.
I can say money and abundance flow easily to me because I can recognize
Yeah.
instances, but it's too much of it's a closed in statement.
And it's absolute. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the bigger issue. It's
Mhm.
absolute. So let's get to this. The sweary affirmations are not absolute. We like them.
They're
And we
joyful.
definitely like the swearing. And I am going to order another set of sweary affirmations, or maybe two or three. And I think that we're going to have them in our in our blog, and you might be able to order them for yourself if you want to.
I like it. Get up, show up, and show the world you're a fucking legend.
Yep. Get up, show up, and show the world you're a fucking legend.
See, to me, it's more like commands to remind yourself of your fucking brilliance.
Exactly. And these are not to me because they're too absolute.
They're reminders of what you're not.
Yeah. And this is a reminder of this is what you can do. Get up and be brilliant. Just do it.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
There you go.
Everyone can. All
And
right.
that's the
We're
way-
going to have to wrap it up. And we will see you next time. And I'm back to my princess wave because I'm Lady Di. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.